So today we're going to be making this lovely and really simple Christmas tree ornament. You want to select your 4 colors of fabric, and as usual I have pulled scraps, so you're going to see them in various shapes, and you need to lay them out in the order that you want them in. Your top one will be cut at 2 3/4 inch square. Your second fabric will be cut at 3 1/2. Your third fabric at 4 1/4 inch square, and your last fabric at a 5 inch square. And then you need a piece of fabric in a brown or tree trunk, any color up for a tree trunk, and that will be cut at 1 1/2 by 2. So let's cut these. Now we have all of our fabric squares cut, and this is for one Christmas tree. So the next thing you're going to want to do is take these fabric squares and cut them on the diagonal to make triangles. And once you have them all put together with right sides together, you'll take them to the sewing machine, and you're going to sew starting right here at the point, a 1/4 inch seam all the way around and stopping about 1 inch in. On these guys, the smaller ones, you want to make it even closer to this edge right here where you start. Your tree trunk, you just put these right sides together as well, and on these you are simply going to sew a square. Let me set it down so you can see it better. You're going to do a 1/4 inch square all around the outside, leaving an opening right here. So I'm going to start with the biggest one, and I've brought them all over so that I can sew them all at the same time. Remember that for the big ones, you just sort of want to start in about 1 inch from the point, and that's what I'm going to do right now. I do have my 1/4 inch foot on, and I'm going to get down here where I can start. And I would say lock your stitch on your first one just to help hold it in place. Let me zoom in so y'all can see this real clearly. And just sort of guesstimate when you get to a 1/4 inch right here. Pivot and continue on. And again, these sew up really fast. And that's one sewn. We're going to go ahead so we don't forget, and we're going to trim off the points. And this will just help us when we get ready to turn these blocks. And now I'm going to sew the next one. Just like we did before, we're going to trim off the points, not cutting our stitches though. You just want to get... On this one I have moved closer to the point, so instead of coming in way here, I'm only coming in just a little bit, and it will be the same for my small tiny one. This is my medium one. And now I just have my tree trunk, and remember this one we're just going to sew down here and around and up. And now this one is sewn. And again, on this one, it does help to trim the corners. So that is what I'm going to do as soon as I can find my thread, which has totally disappeared up in here. You do not need to trim the open end. So let's just grab one, and we're going to flip it inside out now. And because you've left you a big hole, you have plenty of space to flip in. We're going to flip it inside out. And then we're going to push out these points. If you have a purple thing, it is a perfect tool to do this with, because it has a flat square end that won't tear through your fabric. If you do not, you can just use the end of your scissors or whatever you need to do to get them out as pointy as possible. It is not necessary to get them 100% pointy. That can be really hard to do, but you just want to give it your best shot here. And as you can see, when you get to these points, they are really tight in here. See that? So I am just going to continue to push my fabric out and keep pushing it. And I'm going to probably switch to the pointy end and be careful now, because it's very easy to go through your fabric just like that. So, and generally speaking, that's probably about as good as you're going to get this, because it is a very tight point. And we're just going to repeat this over here. I'm going to pull this inside outwards like this and shove that down, and shove my finger up in there some, and put my purple thing up there and push, going for the best point I can get. Okay, once you have that, then you're simply going to lay it down, and you're going to finger press these side seams over, and we'll take them to the iron and press them really good. I'm just finger pressing them just to give me an idea of where I'm at, but again, we will iron these. So this is the little one. This one, I've got to say, is a little tough to turn. I am definitely trimming away the extra fabric, but even doing that is still tough to turn. The tree trunk is super easy to turn. Now this is the top of the tree. So the biggest and most important thing is that you get the tip top as close to pointy as you can, like that. Pretty little good point, and all of this fabric will be folded under and pressed down, and then we'll be able to put the tree together. And last but not least is our trunk, and we're just going to turn it inside outwards. There's my little trunk all done. All of our pieces at the ironing board. I'm going to start with the simplest one. This one you just simply need to press straight down. Nothing fancy. You don't need to turn anything under. That one's done. Now, these, fold your seam allowance, your 1/4 inch seam allowance in, and press. I'm going to roll this seam in my fingers because it's not wanting to lay completely flat, and if that happens to you, just roll it to where the line is right in the center. It will give you a prettier triangle. We're just going to give these a really good press. To join these together, we're going to choose one of your pretty stitches. Now, if you do not have any decorative stitches on your machine, just choose the zigzag stitch. It will do beautifully. Start with the top of your tree and your second piece. Put them, I don't know, you can lay them however you like. I tend to like them pretty well stacked up tight. So I have about, a 1/4 of an inch on the back side, and the front looks like this. And I am going to sew my decorative stitch right on this edge. You want to start right at where the green meets the red, or right where the top piece meets the second piece. So you can see my little stars, and I'm going to put my next piece on. And again, I am going to, this is the front, I'll flip it over, and it's going to be about 1/4 of an inch. Then I am going to tuck that back under, because start sewing right there where the third piece meets the second piece, and run a straight line of stitches to close this opening and decorate my tree. And there is my second line of stitches. Just sort of looks like decorations. In the light, the gold does. And finally, we're going to add our fourth piece. This one I'm going to scoot down just a little bit more, so it is more of a 1/2 of an inch down. And that's what the total tree will look like at a 1/2 an inch down. And here is the last row I put on. Again, we're assembling our tree and closing our openings at the same time. We're going to close our last one and add our tree trunk now. And this one you need to start right where you started, and you're just going, or you can start at the ends. Regardless, you need to cover this whole end while adding to the back side your tree trunk. So that's going to stay in place, and then I'm going to stitch my decorative stitching to close this and put some pretties on my tree. As you can see, my gold stands out nicely. All that's left to do is add a ribbon or a piece of jute twine up to the top, and you have finished your little Christmas ornament. Now these can be hung in a window or on your Christmas tree. I plan on hanging mine on my Christmas tree. I like nice big hangers, so I made my piece of cord nice and big. I'm just going to tie a little knot in it just to help hold it when I sew it in place. There. So I'm just going to pin this on the back side, like so, just to hold it in place when it goes under my machine. And then I'm going to put a decorative star stitch right here that will grab it. And of course, whatever stitch you're using you can use, or you can just zigzag that on back and forth. There, it's done. And it's sewn on very well on the back. So I have these little pearls, stick-on pearls, that I like to put at the very tip top of mine, and I'm going to do that now. They're just stick-ons, and they're just decorations. And again, these are just peel and stick, and I just think it adds just the cutest little definition to my tree ornament. Isn't that adorable? Can't wait to see yours.